Hello and welcome back everyone. It's 1 month now since the previous devlog and I'm sorry to keep you waiting. The thing is that I took 3 weeks time off from game dev to visit my parents in Finland. Now, being full of new energy and perhaps some artistic inspiration, I'm back at making Omapeli, that is an action 3D RPG game taking place in a medieval fantasy setting. On this devlog, I'll share you my progress during the last week or so on how I have been making Omapeli visually more interesting, or as I have been calling it, beautifying the game. So tighten your seatbelts and grab your popcorn, we have a game to make. Previously, the only foliage I had in Omapeli was the trees. Their trunks and big branches are created parametrically in Python, using the Panda 3D game engine's internals, giving out a true 3D model made of vertices and triangles in 3D space. But for performance reasons, the branches containing the leaves were implemented a bit differently. The leafed branch 3D model is rendered to a texture image, and then this texture image is being applied on flat 2D cards that are positioned on the branches of the actual 3D model. Visually a little flat looking, but it will do for now. The strength of parametric models such as my trees is that they can easily create visual variety of models, for example to represent trees or different biomes or something different entirely. Bushes are low plants with many small branches and they can add quite a lot of visual fidelity to the scene. I wanted to add bushes to Omapeli by modifying the tree model or its parameters, hoping to generate believable bushes. To my surprise, just reducing the diameter and the tallness parameters of the model actually led to quite nice bushes without tinkering with the code at all. Or what do you think? These bushes can function as a source of berries or campfire wood in future revisions. I also added some stones that at the moment actually use the same parametric model as the player's head. In future, these stones may function as a source of stone resource for crafting and as a durable cover against enemy projectiles. The item placing algorithm needs still tuning, as currently it just uses the uniform distribution to randomly place the items, which looks a little artificial. It would be better, for example, for the trees to clump together to create forests and so on. Very finally, the grass in Omapeli still suffers from the fact that it cannot be rendered very far away. As one solution, I have been testing out rendering the grass into a texture from a different angle or from different angles and then having a custom fragment shader to select the right texture depending on the angle between the camera and the terrain fragment. But I didn't get it to work properly yet, so I just decided to disable it for now at least. Torches are the most important light source in a medieval fantasy game for those who do not know the ways of magic. Implementing the torch 3D model was easy. I just reused the branch primitive I had made for the trees before. Also, adding a light source and parenting it on the 3D model was straightforward to code in Panda 3D. The tricky part, in my opinion, was creating a believable fire effect. After some planning, I came to the conclusion that I could create the fire either by using the Panda 3D's particle system or by writing a fragment shader for it. I decided to go with the particle system because it appeared easier to implement. You have a factory, an emitter, and a renderer that you have to configure together with your particle effect. Quite a job to find the parameters that make the fire look like fire, but eventually I got something nice out. Well, I think I'll scale this down a little bit still. The final thing on this video is the night sky. Previously, during the night, there were only clouds roaming on the sky. In a medieval game with no major light pollution sources, it would be a shame not to have the sky littered with stars. So I made it so that at the game's startup, a night sky star texture is getting created. Currently, the script places stars that are just pixels with a set brightness and color randomly across the texture image. The midline of the image also gets brighter belt of stars to act as the galaxy center. I also place some star groups here and there to give some waypoints for the player to navigate and orient themselves more easily. In future, I think I'll try to add nebulae or, in general, luminous gas and dust clouds on the sky, and maybe a moon or a few to orbit the planet that the player is on. Yes, I think it has finally come time to shift the focus from world building or beautifying it to adding the core gameplay mechanisms to the game. I have still this and the next month time to work with Omapeli until it becomes December, when I have planned to release the initial alpha demo, so the schedule is quite tight. But don't expect too much from the initial demo. The idea is just for me to hear your comments on it, on what works and what doesn't, and to give you something to play during the holiday season. I'm then later planning to release a few more polished demos, and then finally to have a proper indie game launch sometime still during the next year. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye!